How you going to do that with a seagull flying across the sea?
Yeah, so, I'd like to entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. In a second. Thank you, Ms. Healy. Good evening and welcome to the July 7th, 2020 Board of Ed meeting. Can we now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the
United States
of America.
and
And
to
to
the
the
republic
which
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd also now at this point like to entertain a motion to elect Lisa Reum as the temporary chairperson to handle the swearing in of the board members and the elections of president and vice president.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Second. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. In favor? Mr. Dorr?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Healy?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Dr. Kukunis? Sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Ahowski? Mr. Wallace? And Ms. Downs?
Yes.
Thank you. And myself a yes. So, okay. Lisa, it's now in your hands.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Conley. Good evening, everyone. We will begin with the oath of office taken by our re-elected and newly elected board members. We're going to begin with Ms. Ahowski, then Mr. Dorr, and then Ms. Healy. Ms. Ahowski, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Oh, we can't.
Therese, we can't hear you.
I, Therese Zuhowski,
There you go. Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of the Riverhead Central School District
of the Riverhead Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
you raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Christopher Dorr,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the School Board of Education
of the Riverhead Central School District
of the Riverhead Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Healy, if you could raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Virginia Healy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a member of the Board of Education
as the member of the Board of Education
of the Riverhead Central School District
of the Riverhead Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I will now accept nominations for President of the Board of Education for the 2020-2021 school year.
I would like to nominate Lori Downs for School Board President.
Okay.
Second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, I declare the nominations closed. We will now vote for Liz Lori Downs as President of the Board of Education. All those in favor? Let's go down the line. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Abstain.
Ms. Downs, does she vote for herself?
Yeah.
Yes, she does. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ms. Healy,
Yes.
Ms. Kunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
and Ms. Zahosky.
Yes.
Okay. So we have 6 in favor, 1 abstained. So I will now declare Ms. Lori Downs is declared the President of the Board of Education for the 2020-2021 school year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Correct.
Okay, I will now accept nominations for Vice President of the Board of Education.
I'd like to nominate Teresa Zahowski.
Okay,
I second that nomination.
okay. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I declare the nominations closed. We will now vote for Ms. Teresa Zahowski as Vice President of the Board of Education. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Abstain.
okay. Ms. Downs,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
Dr. Katunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
and Ms. Zahosky.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Teresa Zahosky is now declared the Vice President of the Board of Education for the 2020-2021 school year. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so Ms. Downs and Ms. Zahosky will now take their oaths of office for President and Vice President. We'll start with Ms. Downs. Ms. Downs, if you could raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Lori Downs,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I would support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of President.
I will faithfully, what was that?
I will faithfully discharge the duties,
Faithfully discharge the seat of President
okay, of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of the Riverhead Central School District
in the Riverhead Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Ms. Zahosky?
Yes.
Okay, raise your right hand again. I state your name.
I, Teresa Zahowski,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Vice President of the Board of Education
of Vice President of the Board of Education
of the Riverhead Central School District
of the Riverhead Central School District
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Teresa.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, the meeting will now be turned over to Ms. Lori Downs, President of the Board of Education.
Okay, so we did we got approval of appointments is next. F. We did E, we did the oaths of office, right?
Yeah.
Now we got to do the approval. F. Can I have,
I'm sorry. I think we were going to have the superintendent talk, right?
Superintendent.
okay, if you want that. Go ahead.
I think we have to finish the organizational part of the meeting first and then do the superintendent.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Chris. The approval of appointments, letter F. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Resolution passes. Approval of CSE, CPSE members. Motion,
Motion.
thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Mr. Conley? We're voting on the CPSE. Mr. Conley?
You're mute, Brian.
Oh,
Brian.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Miss,
Good, yes.
thank you. Dr. Kukunis?
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
I don't know if you got me, Virginia.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Resolution passes. H, the impartial hearing officers. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Vote, Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis?
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Dorr?
Yes.
Ms. Healy?
Yes.
And myself is also a yes. It passes. Letter I, financial banks and depositors of school funds and bonding. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis?
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Dorr?
Yes.
Ms. Healy?
Yes.
And myself is also a yes. Motion passes. Approval of letters of agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Kukunis. We'll take the vote. Mr. Conley? Mr. Conley?
He's muted again.
Hello?
Brian, you're muted.
There's, I don't know if anybody else is getting a huge lag. I'm getting a huge lag, so I apologize. Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Kukunis?
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Dorr?
Yes.
Ms. Healy?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Motion passes. K, official monthly board meetings. Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Vote, Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis.
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is also a yes. Passes. Official newspapers and media. Motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Therese. Vote, Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Resolution passes. Authorizations, approval of authorizations, letter M. Motion?
I make a motion.
I'll
Thank you, Mr.
second.
Wells. Thank you, Ms. Dr. Kukunis. Vote, Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is also a yes. Letter N, other approvals. We got 28 of them. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Now, we're going into the consent agenda, but what we're going to do is we're going to ask Christine Tonos, interim superintendent, to speak. Correct?
Yes.
Is that what we were planning on doing?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Downs. Congratulations to Ms. Downs and Ms. Sahusky on their new roles on the Board of Education, and welcome to Ms. Healy. So good evening. I'm grateful to the Board of Education for this opportunity to serve as interim superintendent. As you know, this is a challenging time for our district, but I'm renewing our commitment to focus on the reason why we are here, our students. As we await guidance from Governor Cuomo, the New York State Education Department, and the Department of Health regarding specifics for possible re-entry in September, please know that committees, which include staff and community members, have been formed. Moving forward, we are streamlining these committees to improve communication and planning. Our highest priority is the health and safety of our students and our workforce. We are planning for 3 possible scenarios: all students in person, all students learning remotely, and a hybrid model. We know that the community is very interested in what these plans will look like, and we will provide an update at the July 21st Board of Education meeting. Thank you to those who have participated on the committees. Our next round of committee meetings will take place next week, and we plan to continue with weekly meetings throughout the summer. In addition to reentry, I want to focus on our wonderful Latin program. Many community members have expressed concerns about the continuation of our Latin program. It is the intention of the district to continue this program. However, we have faced challenges with finding a qualified and certified candidate, as well as challenges with declining course requests for the Latin program. At the very least, we plan to allow students who are enrolled in Latin in 2019-20 to continue if they wish. We believe that we have found a candidate and are continuing the hiring process. Hiring a new Latin teacher will allow us to place students who requested Latin for grade 7 to enroll. Please know that our students begin taking a foreign language program in 7th grade, and these students need to take a foreign language program, whether it be Latin, Spanish, or French. So this is not a budgetary issue. Earlier today, we shared a link with the community which allowed for questions and comments to be shared and presented to the Board of Education. Thank you to everyone who responded, and the board and I will address those questions and comments during the public portion of this agenda. Again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the Riverhead community, and I look forward to continued discussions and collaboration to provide the best possible opportunities for our students. Thank you.
Okay. So we move on now to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
I have a question.
Anybody have any cares or concerns or anything? Any questions?
Yes, I do. About the budget transfers, if Sam could give us more information about the 2.3 million transfers to cover the special ed bills, as well as was that in the, why that wasn't in a line item budget? If you can give more information about that.
Sure. Well, in a more regular operational time, these additional costs from BOCES would have been handled in a more regular way. We had to save these up for one transfer, fell swoop transfer at the end of the year because of the lag of BOCES bills and the staffing in the business office over the last few months. We do have overages in our original estimate of our BOCES expenses this year related to special education services that are provided. But like I said, in a normal operation, these things would have been handled on a month-by-month basis. I think everyone can agree it's been less than a normal operation the last few months.
Anybody else? Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Consent agenda passes. We got no old news, old business, but we do have new. We have, first is designation of board members on committees. I'll read off the list and then we could take a motion, I guess, right? Or do I take a motion first and read off the list?
You could fill in the blanks and then motion as amended.
Okay, because I got it all written out here now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so Audit Committee. The Audit Committee is Matt Wallace, Chris Dorr, Sue Kukunis, Virginia Healy to rotate. Health and Safety Committee is myself, Lori Downs, Matt Wallace, Virginia Healy. Intergovernmental Policy Committee, myself, Lori Downs, Therese Zahowski, Chris Dorr, Virginia Healy to rotate. Wellness Committee is Matt Wallace, Therese Zahowski, Virginia Healy. And Facilities is Matt Wallace, Virginia Healy, and Brian Connolly.
Lori, I'm not on the intergovernmental policy. Just to.
Okay, so we gotta amend that.
Okay. That would be a lot of meetings.
Can you read that again then, Lori, please?
Yes, I'll read it over.
Okay.
You want Audit Committee and Audit Committee, Matt Wallace, Chris Dorr, Sue Kukunis, Virginia Healy to rotate.
Right.
Health and Safety, Lori Downs, Matt Wallace, Virginia Healy. Intergovernmental is Lori Downs, Therese Zahowski, Chris Dorr.
And Sue Kukunis, sorry, that was my error in your notes to you, Lori. Sorry, my mistake.
Oh, Sue, you're on the
Yes.
Intergovernmental still?
Yes.
Yes,
Sorry,
that's
Laura, I
you.
apologize.
That's right, Sam, that's you.
Yes.
The four of us are going to rotate.
Right. Sue Kukunis is also intergovernmental. Wellness is Matt Wallace, Therese Zahowski, and Virginia Healy. And Facilities is Matt Wallace, Virginia Healy, and Brian Conley. Is this all correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. The committees are passed. Approval of July 28th budget revote. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any cares and concerns, any questions or anything? Okay, with that, we'll
Sorry,
start.
we lost. Why? I don't know if I'm hung up.
What? Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr, Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Resolution passes. Approval of contracts. Wait a minute. Approval of library services contracts for 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Kukunis. Any cares and concerns? We'll take a vote. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is also a yes. Resolution passes. D, approval of contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Any cares and concerns? Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Approval of contracts passes. E, approval of memorandum of agreement. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Can I have, anybody has cares or concerns, any questions over this? Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr. Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Healy,
Yes.
thank you. And myself is a yes. Approval of memorandum agreement passes. Approval of tax anticipation notes. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Anybody have questions, cares, or concerns? None taken. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr.
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Passes. G, approval of refunding of stereo bonds. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, cares, or concerns? Take a vote. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
I think he said yes before you
Wallace,
completed. Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Passes. Approval of intermunicipal agreements. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion. Cares and concerns, questions? None being taken. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr, Mr. Dorr,
I think it's the internet.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
where did he go?
think he's trying to log back in. If you just hang on for a second.
It still passes, right? Myself. Okay,
Yes.
it passes. It passed. Myself is a yes too, I'm sorry. I, approval of professional development plan. Can we have a motion, please?
Motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any cares and concerns or questions? None being said, Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis.
Yes.
Ooh, that was cute. Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr, are you there? And myself passes. Approval of membership of dues. Motion, please.
I
Motion.
think, did we approve of development, the team, professional developmental team? We just did the plan, but now we have to approve the team.
That is what I just did.
The team or the plan? You did J? I thought you were on I.
Oh, wait.
No, you did I. and
Correct.
Now we
You're
got to do J.
absolutely correct. I did, let's do J, approval of professional development team. You're absolutely
Yes.
correct. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Conley,
Yeah.
did you say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Approval of professional development team passes. Approval of membership dues. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second, please.
I'll
Second.
Now everybody's-
Thank you, Ms. Dr. Kukunis. Can I have a motion? Okay, second, cares and concerns. This is the approval of our membership dues. No questions? Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Motion passes. Reading of the first reading of the revised board policy. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Any cares and concerns, questions? None taken. Mr. Conley,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski? Ms. Zahowski? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Dorr? Voting on the first reading of the revised board policy.
I think he's in the process of still connecting. Looks like he's on his.
Dr. Kukunis?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Ms. Healy?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Mr. Dorr, can you hear us? You're frozen. Good, resolution passes. Approval of renewal of contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Can I have a second, please?
Second it.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Any cares and concerns or questions? Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
myself is a yes. Approval of renewal contracts passes. Letter N, approval of cooperative bids. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Zahowski. Any cares or concerns? None being said. Mr. Conley, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Dorr,
Yes.
Dr. Kukunis,
Yes.
Ms. Zahowski,
Yes.
Mr. Wallace,
Yes.
Ms. Healy,
Yes.
and myself is a yes. Resolution passes. Now we got to the opportunity for board members. Do we have any reports or anything? Is this where I read what you sent me from what the union has sent me?
No, we have comments from the boards first.
Okay. Reports from board members or committees?
I don't have a committee report, but as a board member, I'd like to welcome Virginia to the board.
Thank
And
you.
I'd like to congratulate Lori and Therese on their new positions and also thank Ms. Tonya for stepping up and filling that position for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
I'd just like to make the public, I don't know if it was noticed, but in the refinancing the bonds, we saved over $750,000 to the district. I think you know that. I just want to mention that.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Any other kind of remarks or anything from board members? Okay, RCFA. I'll read what Mr. Wallace has sent us. Good evening. The RCFA would like to take the opportunity to welcome Virginia Healy to the Riverhead Board of Education, as well as congratulate Therese Zahowski and Chris Dorr on their re-election. In addition, we would also like to recognize newly elected board president, myself, Lori Downs. It sounds really weird to do that. Board vice president, Therese Zahowski, as well as recently appointed interim superintendent, Christine Tona. The teachers of Riverhead look forward to continuing our work with all of you as we collectively find solutions to the many challenges we face as a district and advocate for the students we faithfully serve. Thank you, Greg Wallace, RCFA president. Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Opportunity for community members. I do have to say, what you sent, Ms. Tona, I can't even read. It's too small.
All right, I'll go through and then I'll ask.
I can't, even with my glasses, I can't see it.
I don't know if you can enlarge it on the screen. You probably could.
I'm very sorry.
It's okay.
But it's very, very small.
Do you want me to take it and then I'll turn it over to you when we get to things that are board related?
See, answer whatever you can answer, because like I said, I can't even read them. They're so small.
Okay. First,
reading glasses.
On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you to all of the people that provided questions and comments this evening. This is a new attempt to engage the community during our virtual meetings, and we're always looking to refine what we do so that we can get input from the community. And hopefully at some point we'll get to be back in live sessions and we'll be able to hear from you directly. So the responses from the community, we sorted by category. So we're going to go through each category and I'll read some of the questions that are here. So first there was a question from Yolanda Thompson about hearing officers. Who maintains the rotational list of hearing officers and who selects the hearing officers when needed, such as for special education, due process hearings, 3028 hearings, or section 3214 hearings? We received the list of hearing officers from the State Education Department. They're grouped by region, and we appoint them on a rotational basis by alphabet. There were several questions and comments about the Latin program. In my statement earlier, I addressed that. So we are going to continue to hopefully move forward and appoint a candidate soon. And it is our intention to provide that opportunity for the students who wish to pursue Latin. Then we have some multiple questions. I'll go back to the multiples because I might hit some of those. There's a question about the professional development plan by Yolanda Thompson. The district's professional development plan includes items such as a new K2 phonics program, focus areas in K6 reading instruction, curriculum mapping, creation of curriculum guides, a new science program, etc. Why are we threatening cuts of the early literacy programs as well as moving funds from curriculum development and science programs in the general budget? Will the PD plan have to be rewritten or modified should the budget fail to pass again? The PD plan is general with topics that are relevant to the areas that we're currently looking at as a district. So a lot of it is curriculum based. We pay for the professional development mostly through our federal Title II grant. So that would not be impacted by the general fund should the budget not pass on a revote. So we don't think we would need to rewrite that PD plan. And so the cuts to a literacy program are something that will be explored further should the budget fail during the revote. So at this time, there's no additional information about the professional development plan. There were quite a few questions about reentry. I hope that in my statement earlier, I was able to address those concerns. We are aware of childcare concerns for working families. We don't know exactly what September is going to look like. As I stated earlier, we're waiting on information from the governor, the state education department, and the Department of Health. And with all of that information, as well as the input from the committees, we're confident that we'll be able to present the best plan possible. But we know the best plan possible is in-person education for our students. So we don't have an answer for that. Moving forward, after reentry, we have revote questions. Tonight on the agenda, the board approved a revote of the same budget that was up for approval in June. There will be a revote on July 28th. It will be an in-person revote with the traditional 4 polling sites, the 4 elementary schools, the K4 buildings from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and an opportunity for absentee ballot. If you are interested in absentee ballot, you need to contact Lisa Ray, our district clerk, and she will get that information to you. Question about RFP from Yolanda Thompson. Why do we keep retaining the same law firm, Ingerman & Smith, year after year, despite the fact that there are other educational attorneys and firms on the island, and despite the comptroller's recommendations that districts should change up law firms and auditing firms to help prevent overfamiliarity and collusions? It's my understanding that the RFP went out in 2017. So, and RFPs generally go out every 5 years. So we're within the 5-year window. So that is something the board can discuss in the future should they wish. Something I didn't mention, there will be about the revote information coming in the mail via postcard within the next couple of days. So all residents should receive that. A question about safety from Richard Ellis. Last month, a freshman at the high school made a terroristic threat over social media, threatening to burn down a police station. My wife emailed the principal. It was referred to the head of security. We never heard back from the director of security. My daughter has many classes with the student and is afraid to be in that student's presence. What is being done? I would have thought someone would have reached out to us, stating the matter is being looked into and what consequences may be faced. Mr. Ellis, if you could, I'll reach out to you tomorrow to get more information from you and have a conversation with Mr. O'Hara, the high school principal. And my apologies that you're feeling that things weren't addressed correctly. So we will definitely address that tomorrow. There's a question about shared services. From Yolanda Thompson, why is the Riverhead School District preparing breakfast and lunch 2 days a week and transporting it to wealthier districts such as West Hampton Beach, Sag Harbor, Shoreham, Wading River, Shelter Island, Eastport, South Manor, etc., in addition to providing free meals to our own township? We are reimbursed for the students within the Riverhead Central School District as part of the community eligibility program, as well as during this time during COVID. So there is no cost to the district for the meal plan. Some of these other districts in the surrounding area reached out to us because we have a successful program and they needed assistance in running the program for the summer. Perhaps their personnel wasn't readily available. So we are able to create some revenue source for the district. Mr. Schneider, you want to add to that?
Yeah, as you said, Ms. Donna, thanks for letting me add. We received permission from the State Education Department to provide meals in a summer feeding program to any community that requests our presence. So these districts do not run any summer meal program themselves. They have asked us to come in there to provide meals for needy children. We have the staff available to do it, and we receive 100% of the reimbursement rate from the state. So it's, as you said, it serves as a revenue source for us. It allows us to have work for our employees here, which is excellent for them. And most importantly, it allows hungry children to be fed. It should be noted that we served, just as informational purposes, 68,000 meals to students in this community between March 13th and June 30th.
Thank you. And thank you to our food services department, our transportation department, our guards. We had a lot of people working to make that happen, and we're appreciative for all of their efforts. Kathy Beresny asked about virtual summer school. Please explain the concept of virtual summer school. What is it? Is it an all day where a teacher is present? What will the nurses, guidance counselors, teaching assistants, computer assistants, office assistants, teacher aides, psychologists, principals, social workers be doing on a daily basis? Virtual teaching is how many hours a day will that person be teaching? Is it a full day curriculum and for whom? Special education or students who did not pass for the year? How will you measure student success? Is there an outcome, assignments, and testing of students? Will all of these employed workers be working in the actual buildings? And is all the monies for virtual summer school in the budget presently for this to be a go? Dates, please. And I would like the answers in writing as well. So thank you, Ms. Beresny, for that comprehensive question. But we are running a extended school year program for our special education students who have 12-month instruction on their IEPs. We are currently doing that virtually. So we do not have any students or staff coming into buildings for that. They're making contact, the staff is making contact with the students remotely. There is a live video component to that. We do have a summer school principal for that because there's a lot of coordination that's involved in taking care of that. We are reimbursed by the state for our extended school year program. For the virtual high school program, we're able to use funds from Title I and Title III, so it's not affecting the general fund. We're in the process of getting that up and running. It's going to be virtual, remote instruction, and so teachers will not be in the building again, and it's for students, any high school student who failed the course for the year for the specific courses that we are able to offer. We may not be able to offer every course that a student needs to retake, but we are looking at Regents courses that are necessary for graduation, physical education, because that's necessary for graduation. So we're happy that we are able to offer that to the students who need that, especially in the current environment, using virtual means to do so. So a lot of the, no nurses are needed this summer except for some paperwork to get the new school year started. There are some people on the agenda tonight that are appointed for CSC meetings. I mentioned the nurses for the paperwork to get the new school year started. CLAs work with Mr. Hines to get our technology up and running. And the summer is a great time for us to get the school year ready for 2020-21. So that's why you see the staff members on the agenda. So I think I answered those questions. And again, you're asking for response in writing. I'll get that to you later this week. We have some questions about the separation agreement regarding Dr. Henriquez. Mr. Venator, would you like to take that?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Toner. The separation agreement is a matter of, it's a confidential matter. It's a matter of personnel. The Board of Education and the district are absolutely precluded by stipulation and by virtue of the fact that it is a confidential personal matter from answering any questions related to the separation agreement.
Thank you. We had a couple of the multiple questions here. From David Burrows, the reopening plan we addressed, the proposed budget for 2020-21, what is it? And when will interviews begin for the new superintendent?
We didn't even post the new superintendent. We haven't even posted yet for the new superintendent. And as far as the revote, what was his question?
What is the plan for the reentry, which we discussed, and what is the proposed budget for 2020-21?
Reentry, we haven't even found out what the governor wants us to do. Right? You got committees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what does the committee come up with so far?
The committees are going to continue to meet. We're going to have committee meetings next week, and we're waiting for the guidance from State Education Department, the governor, and Department of Health so that we can come up with some specifics. Until we have that direction, we can't come up with anything specific.
Thank you.
So there's a few questions about budget. So Mr. Schneider, if I'll read a few to you and maybe you could take them about the proposed budget for 2020-21. Do you have the exact dollar amount you could share?
The proposed budget for 2021 is the Board of Education this evening authorized putting up the same budget that was reviewed in June. It's $147 million and it stays within the property tax cap.
Thank you. And then CM O'Brien, how much money was funded to the reserve accounts? That was on the 6/16/20 agenda, using excess fund balances from fiscal year ending 6/30/20. Can you please provide a breakdown by each reserve account and explain why this money was reallocated and not returned to the taxpayers?
Okay, so the Board of Education passed a resolution on June 16th to fund up to certain amounts into various reserves. The notion was that the money would be used as revenue sources this year should our state aid collapse, which by every indication, every district in New York State is expecting a significant cut in state aid. The exact amounts of what's going to go into each reserve has not yet been determined. The fiscal year is over, but we are still paying bills that are lagging from last year. We're closing out our books. The auditors, the external auditors are due to visit us in 2 weeks, and then they will put out a formal statement on the condition of the budget from 1920 towards the end of the summer. That's about when we will know for certain how much money is left over in an audited financial statement, and we can determine exactly what's in each reserve. I know that it lags. I apologize for the lag time. We have to close out the books in the correct order.
Okay, thank you. A follow-up question from CM O'Brien. What is the total amount of money that was not used and reallocated from 1920, which you just answered? Please include in this figure the 4% that the school is allowed to retain per state law. Do you want to talk about the difference on
the 4% that the district is allowed to retain as per state law is called unallocated fund balance. We are at or under the 4% every year. This year, excuse me, in the 1920 year, we were actually slightly under it. My hope is that we will be at exactly 4% this year. And again, the exact answer is going to have to wait until the audited financial statements are completed by the independent auditor.
Thank you. And I think the last question is from Kathy Berezny. What are school bus drivers doing this summer? The Snappy Exo Robotics, is it a summer program, STEM initiative through Title IV grant, or a school year program? How much is Dr. Hilary Gomez being compensated for neuro evaluations? Also, Dr. Rebecca Fontandetta, and other approvals, numbers 20 through 28 on the agenda. And then to Virginia Healy, congratulations on your win on the board seat. Ms. Berezi says, I do hope that we will allow public to speak at the meetings. And don't shut down speakers at the podium because their 20 minutes are up. She asks the whole board to consider this. If you don't wish this, then please step down your seat. Your job is fiduciary responsibility. Please take it seriously. You are elected by the community and care what public speaks about as a unit of 7. Does the board want to respond to that, Ms. Downs?
We just discussed that policy, and we're going to hold to it. That you're talking about the policy of the 20-minute, correct, Ms. Toner?
The policy currently allows for 20 minutes from community members, no more than
We just
minutes.
discussed that, and we just had a discussion about that, about possibly changing it, of going over it. But for the time being, we're going to stick to the 3 minutes and the 20-minute cycle.
Thank you. So school bus drivers, some of them are driving for our extended school year program for our BOCE students because they are in person for some of those students. Mr. Schneider, anything else going on with the bus drivers helping with the meal distribution?
No, there's no meal distribution this summer. It's only at the high school in Phillips. The bus drivers are driving students who attend BOCE's programs in person at BOCE's sites. And we ask the board to approve more than what we would need in drivers in case there's somebody absent or sick or away. So we have enough drivers available to drive the students we need.
Thank you. The Snappy Exo Robotics is a summer program. It's being funded through Title IV, which is federal funds. It's a partnership that we have with a group from Stony Brook University. It is a pilot program. We don't know if we will be able to continue that program in the school year for various reasons about what the school year will look like in September. Stony Brook is looking to apply for grant funding to continue the program, so we're excited to get in on the ground floor with them on this project. And the Neuro Evaluations, they range in cost. And again, like Mr. Schneider said, there are multiple people put on an agenda because we don't know how many of them we're going to need to help us do the neuro evaluations for our special education students. The range is approximately $3,000, give or take a few hundred per neuro evaluation. So we approve several providers, so we have options throughout the school year. And I think that's all of the questions. So thank you to everyone in the community for your input tonight. Ms. Downs?
Are we ready?
I
Else to say?
I would like to just add one other thing.
Sure.
It's very disappointing that the town of Riverhead has not paid the school the monies that it's owed. Sam, can you speak more to that?
Sure. Taxes are collected for school districts in Suffolk County by the towns, and the towns turn the money over to the school as per the rules laid out in the Suffolk County Tax Act. We have been paid in full by town of Southampton and town of Brookhaven. We have not been paid in full by Riverhead for taxes that were due to us in the 1920 fiscal year. At the moment, the town of Riverhead still owes us $4,529,040.98. I should say, in speaking to my colleagues in other districts, unfortunately, Riverhead is the only town in Suffolk that is consistently late in paying its obligation to its school districts. I have corresponded with the town several times on this. I know the board is aware of the concerns that I have. We are financially set up to be paid in full in June. It's how our fiscal year works. It's how our tax anticipation notes are structured. Last year, we were not paid in full by Riverhead until well into September. We are just not set up that way for a cash flow purpose. It puts great strain on us. The corollary situation is that we are obligated to pay, and the board approved tonight a contract with Riverhead Free Library. We are obligated to begin paying for that contract in September, even though we have not collected any taxes yet. So part of the TAN money, the tax anticipation note money, goes to paying that bill to Riverhead Free Library. The town would argue that their position is they haven't collected in full from the ratepayers, and until they're made whole by the county, they can't go ahead and make us whole. My response to that as the advocate for this district is that the other towns in Suffolk have figured out how to make that happen. And, I hope that Ms. Tona and the board can, work with me and working with the town to try to compel them to be a little more timely in the payments.
Mr. Benator, could you enlighten us on what the law is about that? On how, when they're supposed to send it, if they're supposed to send it in whole or anything like that?
Yeah, I have spoken with Mr. Schneider about it. We should have received our money previously. What we could do with the board's blessing is to contact the town. In addition, we could file a notice of claim to put them on notice of the fact that they haven't paid it. And if they continue to not pay it, the board would have to adopt a formal resolution. If they don't pay it, you could adopt a resolution authorizing legal action against the town.
Okay, because this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened in about 3 or 4 previous years, which makes me wonder, are they collecting interest on our money and holding it back? Because this, like I said, it's been 3 or 4 years. So, and it's the same thing every year.
We get interest payments from the town for money that they collect. I have no independent way to verify exactly how those calculations are made, but I come back to the point that I think is most important in this regard is that there are 10 townships in Suffolk County, and 9 of those 10 pay by June 30th. I've spoken to my colleagues in other districts a lot on this because I want to make sure that I'm not out ahead of the ball here. And Mattatuck, Cutchogue, Shore and Wading River, and Riverhead Central School District are the 3 school districts that are owed money by, for the 19